Oh, yeah, don't I need that. Okay, look. Okay, hello and welcome. Which one are we looking at? And that one?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the 28th year of the Inner City World Cup here on Bar and Co. on the River Thames. A bit choppy at the moment, it's moving about a little bit. So big thanks to Jorge and the boys and to Mario for looking after us today here at Bar and Co. They have said any Inner City World Cup teams that are interested in hiring the place, obviously we're doing a good deal. Because they've been looking after this little baby for a year, the Spanish team, the golden one as we call it. So as we enter into 2023, we've had over 100 countries in the Inner City World Cup since we started, which is quite an amazing thing, I think. And we welcome new teams, Honduras for the first time, and Kosovo. Of course, we've had Albania a few times, but Kosovo are a very proud, independent country in their own right. And Honduras, the guys have pulled together, with help from Hector and Omar actually, pulled the team together. So we welcome them aboard. They will be joining over 28,000 players that we've had since we started this, and an estimated over 100,000 people that have attended over the years, watching and families and everything else. So I put why in my notes, hastily drawn up here, because it's off the top of my head. I know why we do this, and hopefully you lot do, because even though we're not saying a similar thing every year, it's so important we carry on this. It's so important we carry on things like this, because it brings people together, it brings people from the community. It's not just a weekend, this goes for months and months. It brings communities together. People change holidays. This is such an important thing for London and London's communities, as we know. And then it brings people together that never met. And some of the smaller, lesser known footballing countries. Tomé Príncipe is a good one on the top of my head. I bet a lot of you, you may have even been a student of geography, but you might not have known about certain countries and where they are and what they're about. And, you know, some countries like that, right up to your Brazil and Argentina, who we're welcoming back. They're so important to the whole fabric of this. And on that note, I'd just like to thank every single player and every single person that's attended over the years, because it's you're the wind beneath our sails that keeps us going. My son can't be here tonight, and some of our other team, unfortunately, but they'll all be there on the weekend. We're all working hard. This is not an easy gig. Yeah, I've congratulated the Spanish guys. I mean, like, that just shows you, for 25 years they was trying to win this, and they kept coming back, and they're not the only ones. Some teams have never won it, and it's going to take a good team to beat them again. But guess what? We've got lots of good teams now. We really have. In the early days, we tried to keep the standard of a medium good standard to Sunday standard, and now it's just kind of, there's so many good teams from so many different communities that I think it's fair to say if you can get out of the group in the last 16, anything can happen. And that's what makes it a wonderful tournament. And who am I to say? People do say it's the best tournament this time in the UK, and they ain't found a better one. So that's why it's so important we keep going. And I thank you all for helping us to keep it going. Yeah, I've done all that, so thanks everybody. Yeah, so let's sort of introduce the panel in a second, because I just want to mention the Niners side. The Niners side's got 8 teams. The Niners side tournament is quite fiercely contested, actually, and that's been going about 12 years. Vietnam, Palestine are the champions, and Kenya, they've all won it. Palestine, the reigning champions. But that's a development tournament. They have a little look, see if they feel they can pull a bigger squad together to go for the golden one, you know, because it ain't easy. Or teams that are rebuilding or have missed out, whatever. So the Niners side will be happening. The draw's already done for that. And the Legends is so important, because this is the pathway forward. I'm looking at Cesar's young kids here, and one day, hopefully, they'll be playing, boys and girls, in the Inner City World Cup. And a good example, because we've got a couple of the Colombian legendary management team with us, is the Colombian team. One of the lads, Joseph Rojas, he, as a young lad, he was running on the pitch as Colombia scored the winning penalty with the community over at Regent's Park. I'm sure you remember that very well. And he said to us, one day he wanted to play in that tournament. And guess what? He did play in that tournament. And guess what? He scored the winning penalty in the final. So dreams can be made. You know what I mean? It can be aspirational to young people. And I'd like to think, with the help of all the coaches and all the managers that really are the heartbeat of this, the ones that take all the phone calls and do all the stuff like that. You know, we're the country that keeps it all together. But keeps people on the straight and narrow. It gives them a focus, because this ain't no weekend job. This is months and months and months of training and focusing and whittling it down to a squad. This is a big gig. So that's the over 40s, the legends we call them. And like I say, some people have won the Open Age won 20 years ago, and now they're winning the legends. Now we can talk about walking football over 60s. We ain't giving up. This is a 6 to 66 situation, you know. This will go on beyond me and all us guys, which is something we're really proud of. And last but not least, because Catherine will be kicking me under the table in a minute, the women's football. Now let's get it on record that we've been doing women's football for 20 odd years through our Celebrity Soccer 6. It's all we just jumped on the bandwagon. We was ready to go in 2020, and everything else. But we've come back last year. Paraguayan girls beat Somalia in the final, but we're now back with eight girls teams. We could have got more, and 15 girls are squad. So what's that? 120 girls, you know, and there'll be good players coming from that. There'll be girls that go on to be, I'm not saying lionesses, but go into the program. You watch, because it's happening in our tournament. Some of the boys have come through the South American communities and gone on to Premier League and everything else. So it's a good pathway for talent, not just about bringing people together. So let's get on with the draw. So I'm going to introduce the panel. In his absence, we're going to thank Jose Luis, because there's a terrible threat headed up by the head coach Hector Varela, who's on my left here, and Omar Ramirez to the far left. Then three of the most successful management team in the history of the City World Cup. 4 finals, something like eight finals, 4 championships, and countless semis. They're always there and thereabouts. If you beat Colombia, you know you've got a chance of winning it. Every year Hector says, oh, we're not too strong this year, and then you see him walking over the golden one. So the other teams know this, but the other teams know about Spain. We've known about Spain for a long time. Zimbabwe, there's so many good teams. I wish I hadn't started naming them now, so I miss people out. But there really is a dozen or so teams that can win this, I would say, perhaps more. So Omar Ramirez, Hector Varela are here because they've been putting teams in for 20 years. I mean, that in itself is an achievement. Putting these different squads together, rebuilding them as they get older, and keeping everybody happy. And they've done a great service to the community. But, you know, it's not all about the Latin Americans today. It just happens that this is who we've invited. But let's not forget Ecuador, because they've learned from the Colombian model, and they've built teams, and they've always been knocking on the door. And they won it a couple of years ago, and they've got a very, very good team. Bolivia have won it in the past. And of course, I mentioned Honduras, and now we've got Brazil and Argentina. Who doesn't want Brazil and Argentina in the World Cup? You know, so, and me, you know who I am. I found out in 1994, this crazy idea started actually when I was playing in Clapham in the South American League, knowing that all the teams were there, knowing in East London there was all the, you know, the Asian teams and everything else, of course, European teams. That's how the NC World Cup started. To my right, I love Kathy. Kathy's the head of music for what we do with the Soccer 6, music and Soccer 6, and she's helping us when we eventually get. Next year it's going to be over the London one, building it into more of a festival. The only reason we can't build it out a little bit more is scale and funding, but we're getting there, and then we could build it out to be more of a festival that we promote next year. And I've said that one before, but Kathy's going to be helping us that a little bit, and of course women's football. Kathy champions women's football in the Soccer 6. So I've said about the legacy. Yeah, I think what we do, we get on with it. So to the far left, and Omar is going to pull out from pot 1. Forgive our geography. It's the way it's worked out. We haven't got the 6 quota of European teams, so we put Iran in there and Morocco because that's the way it's worked out. Whole clashes and all that. So please forgive me. It's made a joke about the British changing borders at will, but it's not been quite like that in this occasion. So in the second one, the Asian group will. Hector will be pulling them out from pot 2. I'll pull out pot 3, and Kathy's going to pull out pot 4, which are the African teams. So they'll hand them to me, Will Senna, and Jay, who's David Joseph, our legendary head referee, head video man, head producer, head everything, is over there laughing. Jay's his son, and we're hoping to get him more involved now. He's back in London. So without further ado, I'm going to get on with it. I'm not going to rush it in case we mess it up, but I'm sweet. Thanks. Okay, so you want to start us off? Yeah. So you can pull out one. You say the number and hold it to the camera, maybe. You pick it out. Say it out loud. Number 6. Number 6. Which is Ukraine. Well, what do you know? Hey, you ready, Hector? Yeah, he said he wanted to check my balls were hot. Don't know how to feel about that.
Number 11.
Number 11. Japan. What's got a good team? Ukraine previous winners, by the way. This game's will be kicked off at 10 o'clock tonight first. Number 16. Haha, Colombia. What do you know?
Colombia?
Yeah, you get a bit of a lie in.
22.
22. Oh, screen's gone blank. Sierra Leone. Oh. Well, you know what? I should have mentioned Sierra Leone when I was giving the Colombians all the credit out. Sierra Leone are the 6 times champions. They're an exceptional team in the early 90s. They won it about 5 years ago. So there's 10 times champions in the first match. Colombia have done 4, Sierra Leone have done 6, and Ukraine have done 1. So Japan, look out. But I've seen Japan play lately, and they're a good side, aren't they? So I'm not going to name that one the group of death just yet. But that's a good group. Good on that.
Number 5.
Number 5, Spain. Champions.
8.
Number 8, China. All red colour black. I would just say, by the way, if anyone wants to bring their alternative kit from last year in case it comes back, you know, we'll do our best. But 17, 1-7, Ecuador. Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then in the 19.
And then in the 19, homage to Paul Hardcastle there, friend of ours. So number 19 is last year. 2 very interesting groups so far. Omar, we're good?
Number 3.
Number 3, Morocco. Been on quarters and semis many times.
Number 12.
Number 12, South Korea. Number 13, Argentina.
21.
21. That's what mine's going. Sao Tome and Principe. I'm going to read them all at the end. It's a nice little group there. So pretty much go halfway down.
Number 4.
Number 4 is Poland, previous champions.
Number 7.
Number 7 is Bangladesh, also previous champions. They took an open-top bus to parade the trophy all around East London back in the day. There's 2 previous champions. They're all going to get the stars on their shirts this year, previous champions. Some people get the 4. 14. Bolivia, another previous champion. Oh, this will be a first.
20.
Number 20. Mauritius. Mauritius have been playing since we started in '94 every year. Nash Beacon and his boys, Menon and Dusty. So that's a nice group right there. Cool. I didn't put mine back in there, did I? Oh no, I put your one in there. Good. Okay.
Number 2.
Number 2, Kosovo. Number 10, Iraq. Oh, me. 18, Honduras.
23.
23. South Africa. So I'm going to read them all out again. Usually I read them as I go along, but I'm doing it. So finally,
That's one. Number 1.
number 1, Iran, who fought out really good 3-3 draw with Colombia last weekend.
Is it 6 or is it 6? Yeah.
No.
9.
Yeah.
9.
Is that correct? Yeah, Eritrea. Finally, number 15, Brazil. Welcome back to Brazil. Finally, this is a game, I know that much.
24.
24. Brazil v Zimbabwe will be the second and last game in that group.
Group 1 is difficult to compare.
I don't know about that. Maybe. Okay, so I'm going to go again. Group A, Ukraine, Japan, Colombia, Sierra Leone. Which means Ukraine and Japan will be kicking off at 10 o'clock. So that means they need to get there an hour before. So those that are on next, Colombia and Sierra Leone can get there at about 10:15. Get their kit, get registered. So the second lot of people got an extra bit of time in bed. But it's nice to come down and look at your opponents. Group B, Espanol, Spain, China, Ecuador, and Guinea-Bissau. So again, Spain, China on first. If Spain could bring out the away kit and China, because then we can, because they're both in red. Good. Group C, Morocco, South Korea, Argentina, and Sao Tome and Principe. Again, classic kits there. So if any of the opening games have got, it's typical list. Group D, this is the one. This is the one. So we've got Poland, Bangladesh, Bolivia, Mauritius. 3 previous champions there. No, you've got 3 previous champions in yours as well. Fair enough. Group E, Kosovo, Iraq, New Boys Honduras, and South Africa. Recently got to the semi-finals in Manchester with a Manchester team, I might add. And finally, Iran, Eritrea, Brazil, and Zimbabwe. Okay, so that is the Group F. It's all up there. Yeah. I've said to Hector, perhaps he would ask me a few questions as if we had a audience, no tricky ones that the players may perhaps ask, that at least I'm here saying it. But one thing I do know that we will be discussing off camera afterwards is the rotating subs. It's probably not going to happen, but we will allow David 5 or 6 subs, correct? That will come out in the letter. You know, so we know it's important to rotate the squad, but if we do this full-on rotation and a tight tournament like this, it could be a recipe for disaster. But we'll discuss it. At the very least, we're going to do a 5 or 6 sub or a 5+1. Yeah, that'll all come out in the letter. But the most important thing for most of the teams that have done it before is that they're there an hour before kickoff, that we get off on the right foot. Well, it's not the most important. Yeah, it is the most important thing. Secondly, is they bring in the right vibe. Because to the new teams, even it's like, you know, they've got to know that if there's any proper aggravation that doesn't befit this tournament and the goodwill and the spirit within the teams, they're gone. And it's happened before. And we're talking about if it's 2 or 3 players, the team's gone. In the 2 or 3 players, it's the whole team. Bear that in mind. We all want passion. We never take that away. We want the tackle. We want the passion. But we've got great refs. And linesmen. Every game has got 3 officials. In fact, quite a lot of them have got 4 officials there, right there. So we're working really hard on that. So you've got to mix in the middle on that. So we don't take the passion away, but we ain't having none of that. There's women and kids around. That ain't happening. Yeah, that they get there an hour before kickoff. So is there anything else that you know that the people will perhaps want answering?
People were just asking about this number, amount of subs. That's it.
Yeah. Nothing more really. We covered it all.
Yeah, nothing else.
Is there anything that you think that we need to make aware? The referees, you do briefing with the managers. Oh, I see one thing for the park wardens. We all know where we are. That place. It's not the easiest venue to deal with in that respect, because it's a beautiful park and everything like that. We respect that. We're not allowed to bring barbecues. We're not allowed to start cooking. There is food there. There's allowed food there. So pretty much as we were for the teams that have done it before. And you know, please keep an eye on all your litter and all that, because we're tired come Sunday, and there's a lot of stuff to sort of do. So we expect us in that aspect. Yeah, the rest we're all looking forward to it. I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but thumbs up from David. I don't know, he knows. Contacts. So Yeah, gazebos. You know, if you've got gazebos you want to bring, and I'm talking about little garden gazebos here, I'm not talking about big tents. Please come to us, and please make sure you bring enough pegs and stuff to break it down. And if need be, come to us, and one of our boys will help make sure it's all okay, because the last thing we want is it taking off and hitting a kid or anybody for that matter. So yeah, it was common sense stuff really, and I know a lot of teams are excited about it, and that's why we do it. That's why we get extra on. And I hope the draw was kind to you. I wouldn't say it's particularly kind to China, who I'm pretty certain wanted to avoid Spain because they drew Spain last time, and no one wants to draw Spain, but there's plenty more teams you want to avoid. And you know what? It's about getting through that group, and the format that we decided to keep 24 this year. We've only got 28, maybe even 32, and that's the message to anyone who's watching. That you know, you got to get in early. We've had calls this week, the last couple of days. This is not rock up situation. This is planning for months and months. I went to 24 because you know the best third can get through. And in the last well, not the Spanish actually, but in the last two tournaments we've done out of London, the team that's gone through in third has won the tournament. That's a strong they're getting, and that's the tournament football for you. The best team don't always win. You know, arguably it goes to the dodgy ref's decision, or you know, this is football. We got VAR. Referee's decision final is what it is. Man up, take it on the chin. It balances out just like life. So that's it. Have I missed anything? Because I'll talk all night. No, we're good. I would like to thank everybody here as well. I'll do that on record, and Cesar and Jenny and all the always filming for the Latin American community, for Omar and Hector to come in, and for my trusty lovely sidekick Kathy, to Jay, and to David. They've all given up their time to come and do this for you. So thank you. See you bright and early on Saturday, and bring a smile. Cheers.
You good?
Oh, cool. I just sat my beer.
Oh, this
That is a lot. That is a lot. That is a very
you know what happened there? You know what it is? It's